Welcome to a new video. Today I am going to tell you what happened to a driver on Interstate number 90, a route that crosses the entire state of South Dakota. This story that I am going to tell you, it happened more precisely in a section that is located between the city of Murdo, located in Jones County, and Mitchell, a city located in Davison County. There are many experiences on routes. Sometimes they are good, and other times not so much. But on some occasions, they are extremely strange, like the one you are going to listen to today. I would love for you to leave me your comment at the end of this video, to know what your opinion is, or if you know, perhaps, of someone to whom something similar happened. Now yes, let's go with today's story. My name is James, and I am from the state of South Dakota. And for work reasons, he traveled quite often to different counties and cities of said state. There were many the times in which I saw strange things on the routes. And I am also aware that this does not happen to all of us. I have colleagues who never saw or anything happen to them, while to other colleagues, yes. I think it's a matter of sensitivity to certain things. But it's really something I'm completely unaware of. And this appreciation is just a personal idea. This that I am going to tell you happened in the year 2019. More precisely, in the first days of November. I was traveling from Murdo, where I live, to Mitchell. I had to come and go in the day, so I left quite early. I don't remember the exact time, but when I left the house, it would be like 5:30 in the morning. My idea was to reach my destination around 8 in the morning. I have done this path many times, and I can assure you that I know each mile of the journey. But that time I don't know why, and I don't know how it happened. The two things that happened to me took me completely off my axis. The first weird thing that happened to me, it was when he was about to cross the Missouri River. Actually, it was a bit earlier. I reckon a mile and a half away, to reach said river, or maybe less. The route, at that time it was super calm. It was still night, and the truth was that it was quite cold. In that I am traveling, I see a boy, a fairly young boy, that he was walking on the side of the road. As soon as I saw him, I didn't doubt it, and I stopped to take him to his destination, or at least ask him if he needed anything. To put you in context, I'm going to tell you something, so you understand why I stopped. On that dark morning, some time ago, it was my son who, walking along one of the many routes of the state of South Dakota, coming back from a birthday, he had the misfortune that a car did not see him in time. And since that day, when I see a boy or a girl walking alone on the road, whatever time it is, I offer to take them. When I got closer, and I'm slowing down the car, I don't know why, but I had a sensation of fear or something similar. I remember passing it, and stopped further on, about 30 yards. This boy, he kept walking, and he was approaching the car. Meanwhile, I was looking at him in the rearview mirror, and I put out my hand, as if to make a sign to him that I stopped to take him. When he was next to the vehicle, he greeted me. I answered the greeting, and then I asked him where he was going, if he wanted me to take him. He immediately smiled at me and thanked me for stopping me. He told me that he was going to the roundabout on the other side of the river, that he was headed for the city Chamberlain. I signaled for him to come up, and I told him, "Come up, boy, come up and I'll take you." He was dressed in a white sweatshirt, which had a print on the front. I don't remember very well what he was like, and jean pants. When he gets on, we talk a bit. He tells me that his name is Brian, and that he came from a barbecue. What did they do with their friends? But since he left before, no one could take him home. Do you know something that he couldn't get out of my head? And it's something I swear to this day. He left me more than confused. It was the perfume of this boy. It smelled very strange. I've never felt a similar aroma. It smelled good, but at the same time extremely strange. I recommended that I try not to do those walks along the route, much less at that time, because it is very dangerous. I also told him what happened to my son, and when I finish telling you this, I watch out of the corner of my eye as he turns, and he stares at me in silence, like about 4 or 5 seconds, and he tells me, "I'm so sorry, sir, that shouldn't have happened." I just limited myself to thanking him. I didn't know what else to tell him. After that, we didn't talk much more with this boy. He only told me about his barbecue and some other thing. But during those 5 or 10 minutes of travel, he remained mostly silent. Until that moment, I didn't notice anything strange at all, except for the perfume, as I mentioned. The craziest thing was yet to happen. It was just before reaching this roundabout, where you go to Chamberlain, that a truck in front of me completely dazzled me. The first thing that came out to me at that moment, and as always, it was an insult. Then I looked at the passenger seat, and I couldn't believe what had happened. Ryan wasn't there anymore. I can assure you that the feeling I had was horrible. I froze, scared, surprised. I really didn't understand anything about what had happened. I immediately stopped. I thought for a moment, and instantly I accelerated and left that place in a hurry. I went to a fast food house, which is in the area, and when I get there, to the fast food house, I stared at the passenger seat for a long time, like looking for something, any sign that he wasn't driving me crazy. But there was nothing. I looked for it on the outside, inside, for everyone. Sides. But the boy was no longer there. I had a coffee right there, as if to clear my head and distract myself a bit, because inevitably, this boy reminded me of my son Kevin. That sometimes I also think that he keeps walking on some route, as he was doing it before the accident. The second thing that happened to me was tremendous. When I started again heading towards Mitchell, retaking Interstate 90, not only still, I felt confused. The car also felt weird. I rolled down the windows, and it was at that moment that I realized something. About 100 yards ahead, on the side of the road, there was again this boy, walking exactly the same as I saw him before. But this time from the opposite hand, that is to say from the other side of the route. I assure you that my blood ran cold, and seeing him I despaired. At that moment I wanted to stop the car, but behind me I had another vehicle, so I put up beacons and parked on the side of the road to be able to brake. When I finally stopped the car, I lowered myself, and when I looked towards the hand in front, but a little further back, trying to find the boy, because he had already overtaken him, I realized that he was no longer there. He had disappeared again. I assure you that no one lifted it. I stayed there for a while thinking and thinking, but it didn't make sense. It was all too confusing. I got in the car again and continued the trip. I arrived at my destination in the city of Mitchell at 9:30 in the morning. I remember the first person I saw was Scott. We chatted a bit, but at that moment, I didn't tell him anything about what had happened to me. It was only when we went to the car to lower some things that I had in the back seat. The first thing he said to me was, Wow, how we perfumed the car this time, James." At that moment I stared at him seriously. The truth is that I don't give much importance to the car, so much less I perfume it. In fact, I don't really use perfumes either, because it irritates my skin. That smell that was inside the car, it wasn't mine. It was that of this boy, Brian. I then told him the situation, and at that moment a colleague of Scott's approaches, and she starts to listen to what she was telling Scott. Right away she felt this perfume, and even if you don't believe it, she was the only one who immediately said how strange that fragrance was. It smelled like I told you. It smelled good. But at the same time it was something strange, the truth that was indescribable. That day, I continued to make a few more deliveries in the city of Mitchell, and I returned to Murdo in the afternoon. It was still daylight when I passed the roundabout, and throughout the journey, which I made to the Missouri River Bridge, I looked at all times looking for this boy, but I never saw him again, and just as I told you, I continue to do this tour to this day, quite often, and never found it again. For a while I was finding out and asking a lot of people if anyone knew anything about a boy named Brian, or yes, someone had experienced a situation similar to mine. Also asked if anyone was aware of any accidents in the area where perhaps a young man named Brian was involved. But I had no luck. Nobody knows anything. Today I still have this doubt. I keep thinking, why did this happen to me? Why he chose me, and what was the reason? I wouldn't be so sure what I saw, and what really, this boy was in my car, if it weren't for Scott and his partner, those who also felt that particular perfume that I had never felt. The only certainty that I have, it's that in my car I took a certain Brian for a few miles. That at dawn, he was trying to return to his house after a barbecue with friends. Thank you for reaching the end of this video. I await your comment, as always, to know what your opinion is. I send a big hug to all of you.